Warning! The root's on fire! You're about to experience the most high-octane, pedal-to-the-metal controversial show of your life. Please buckle up and hold on tightly. This station is not responsible for injuries. This is Wayne Allyn Root, raw and unfiltered, with America's favorite conservative rock star. Direct from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas. What time is it? It's time for war! Here's your host, 100% raw truth, 100% American made, the warrior, Wayne Allyn Root.
Welcome back, everyone. This is The War Zone. My name is Lee Elsey. I am filling in for Wayne Allyn Root. You can find me, leelceyradio@gmail.com. They send me emails from all over the country. It's always a lot of fun going back and forth. So it's leelciradio@gmail.com. If you would like, you can watch what's going on at the Gateway Pundit. It is the most heavily trafficked conservative website in the entire country, thegatewaypundit.com. Wayne's Rumble, Wayne's X, Getter, Root for America, all have the video feed and, again, the audio as far as the great radio stations from one coast to another. Before we get to our great guest, I do want to remind you that this particular segment of the show is being sponsored by Energized Health. Listen, you've seen Wayne Allyn Root, man. He looks like an Adonis, for goodness sake, right? I mean, he's lost 25 pounds of fat, including the dangerous inner body visceral fat, gained about 10 pounds of muscle, and that inner cellular hydration. So he talks about it all the time. He did it all in only 88 days. Now, 5 years later, he feels the best he has in his entire life. He gives all the credit to Energized Health. Energized Health is not a traditional weight loss program. It's a fat loss program. It's a game changer. It's a life changer. And by the way, people right now are saying, man, I'm using Ozempic or I'm using the GLPs. Well, Energized Health is working alongside those pharmaceuticals to help minimize the side effects. And there are a lot of side effects. So it's fat loss the healthy way, not weight loss, but fat loss. And here's your chance to be like Wayne. Energized Health can change your life and supercharge your health just like it did for Wayne Allyn Root. Right now, Energized Health is offering the 40% off action discount. 40% off. All you got to do is say WAR, energizedhealth.com. That's energizedhealth.com. All right, special guest joining us right now. I've been lucky on the radio. I've gotten a chance to talk to, dare I say, dozens of great folks from the Heritage Foundation. I have a number of regulars that are have weekly segments on my morning show here in Connecticut, and they are fantastic. And joining us right now, a PhD research fellow, Thomas A. Rowe Institute for Economic Policy Studies, and a senior advisor. He's at the Heritage Foundation, Allyn Mendenhall. Allyn, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it very much. Hey,
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we got chaos again, man, right? So oil popped back up today. As of early this morning, I didn't get a chance to see it since about 10, 11 o'clock, but it was already up $7, $8. So I'm assuming that we can, if something doesn't drastically change here and we don't get some kind of deal, that the price of gasoline is going to go up, correct?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, today the price at the pump didn't really change, but the price of a barrel of oil is going up. And so, I suspect we're going to go back to where we were when the Strait wasn't open, assuming the Strait closes. I mean, hopefully we can keep the Strait open. We're still at a point where we don't have nearly the amount of traffic that we had beforehand. I mean, we were getting 150, maybe on an incredible day, 200 ships through. Right now, on a good day, we're getting 50 ships through that strait. And when we're talking 20% of the world's oil supply going through that critical choke point, that's a big deal. So yeah, I think I would not be surprised to see the gas prices go up. And this is just as they were starting to come down too. They had creeped up from February, March, and April, and then May they peaked, and they were just coming back down. So disappointing, but not surprising at the same time.
So everybody, always asks this question, and I ask it of people, and it's always an unsatisfactory answer. And I don't expect you to give me a great I'll come to Jesus moment for everybody listening. But, everyone says that we're supposedly energy independent, and I know, oil is a global market, but why don't we just pump more? Why don't we pump more here and sort of limit the overall negative exposure we have to the world market? Can we do that, or is that just too hard and too difficult to lift?
Well, Part of it has to do with regulations, which have been eased in the current administration. And part of it has to do with if you're a private company and you think that this conflict is just going to be really short, you may not want to spend all the money it takes to start, ramping up production. If you think the conflict's just going to be short, we've been dipping into our oil reserves quite a bit, but yeah, there's really nothing that stops these companies from pumping more, and they may have to. Look, they may have to. One interesting dynamic is Venezuela has the #1 largest proven oil reserves in the world, but they have all this kind of crude stuff that isn't refined, and we have the ability to refine. So now that we have this new relationship with Venezuela, it'll be interesting to see if we're able to tap into some of that oil. I know both Exxon and Chevron are starting to expand operations down there, so we'll see. There's just so much corruption and stuff like that is inhibiting to the access to oil there. But we'll see.
But is there a way for, let's say, these United States companies, whether it's Exxon or Mobil or whoever, if they were to produce more, can they decide where they sell it, or does it have to go on a global market?
No, they could. They could decide where to sell it. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's good for our oil companies to export. We are, we're like the #1 producer of oil, and we have been energy independent since 2019. Where we're really, really good is the liquefied natural gas, though, because we have these shale deposits in like New Mexico and Texas that just don't exist in other places. You can't just be a country that just says, oh, let's just try to increase our liquefied natural gas, because we're talking about millions and millions of years of sedimentary activity that just can't be replicated. China actually has more extensive shale deposits than we do, but they're in these really arid areas that are tough to get to. It's really hard to frack because the ground's really hard there. So even though they have more extensive shale deposits, it's more difficult for them to get to them. So we're just lucky in that regard that we just have the topography, we have the geography, we have the history and the natural resources to be able to get that liquefied natural gas. And that's a really key thing, because that's where we get our energy. The oil is for the travel and the transportation and jet fuel and putting it in our cars. But that energy stuff is really important, especially now that we're growing in AI, because a lot of that AI is going to depend on that type of energy.
Talk to me about the political ramifications. You mentioned Venezuela, right? So there are some people who truly believe that Trump is playing this 3D game of chess while we're all playing marbles, right? So we're all playing checkers and he's doing the 3D chess. And you get Venezuelan oil, okay? You have pseudo control over that. And if we were ever able to get the Iranian oil, or at least some control over how it's dispersed, we would then essentially have China almost at their knees. Do you think that was part of this plan and on the onset? Some people think that's like a 50, 60-year plan that was put in place, prior to, right about the time of the Iranian Revolution. Is that something that you think is a possibility?
I have a hard time imagining that it wasn't at least a factor when you take into account that the #1 importer of Venezuelan oil was China, and the #1 importer of Iranian oil was China. I find that hard to be a coincidence. Some other kind of geopolitical dynamics that are different now. In light of the Strait of Hormuz closing, you had UAE as of May 1st say, we're out of OPEC. We're tired of these quotas. We want to pump as much oil as we want. And, we've got other OPEC countries that are cheating without consequence. And what do we get out of OPEC now? We're not getting anything out of it. Let's get out, and now we can pump as much oil as we want. And so when the strait becomes fully open, it's open now, but it is not fully open. Like I said earlier, we're not getting 150 ships through every day. But when we do, and UAE is pumping oil, that's going to be a big game changer. Especially if you have other OPEC countries look at what UAE is doing and say, wait a second,
right?
They're going to do that. Let's do it too.
Well, speaking to that, a lot of people don't know anything about the petrodollar, and we're talking with Allyn Mendenhall from Heritage Foundation. A lot of folks think that maybe, with the Iranians, India, I think, got together, China as well, wanted to flip, if you will, how oil was bought and get it off the United States dollar, if you will. Yeah. So is that part of this equation? How important is it for us to keep that petrodollar?
Well, gosh, yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, I think it's important for sure. Whether that would actually happen, I don't know. Crazier things are happening. There are things that I say, I don't see that being possible. Well, I've said that about like 5 or 6 things that happened over the last 5 or 6 years. So who knows? Right. But, the one thing that we really do need to do is get this situation in Iran figured out, because it is contributing to inflation. I mean, headline inflation is at 4.2%. And the reason you can tell that the oil situation is contributing to that is because if you look at core inflation, it's still below 3%. Headline inflation, as measured by the CPI, includes energy costs and food costs, but core inflation doesn't. So when you remove the energy and food costs, and you see that core inflation is that much lower, you realize, oh yeah, it's definitely, this oil situation is definitely what's given us these inflationary problems. And so, we've got to figure that out, or else we're going to have to deal with that. We get a new CPI report next week, by the way. I'm looking forward to that, to see, at first I was looking forward to see, like, oh, how much better is it going to be now that gas prices have dropped? But now that we've got this new change here in Iran, over the last 24 hours, I might be looking at it to see what hasn't changed, or what may have even gotten worse.
Anybody who does the food shopping in their family knows that inflation is still it's a heavy burden on every household. You go to buy the most basic foods now, and it's you're looking twice, you're looking 3 times. Families are making a decision. I'm making a decision whether or not to put back that box of cereal. I always talk about that. I looked yesterday, as a matter of fact. I was walking through, and they had this special on a box of Cheerios. It was a big box, but it was like $6. I mean, $6 is the special price. That's crazy. I mean, what world am I living in? So yeah, I think hopefully that the gas prices can come down, because as well as everybody, the idea that the midterms are right around the corner, and the last thing we want to do is lose the House and potentially the Senate, because nobody can afford their regular bills every single month.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that's the only thing that really the Democrats can latch on to is Iran and this inflation. But it is important to keep it in context. I mean, yeah, we've got 4.2%, but it was 9.1% under Biden, with gas prices over $5. So we have short-term memories, and we forget that. And it's important to bear that in mind, just to contextualize things. The other thing is, we've gotten pretty good jobs reports. I mean, this latest one was beneath expectations, but it was still not bad. I mean, our only real bad month was February, where we had some declines. But the other thing is the stock markets are going gangbusters. I guess not everybody has access to capital markets and can invest, but those who do are seeing, records. I mean, the Dow Jones has hit 21 records in 2026 alone. And that's not even counting the records that the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have hit. I mean, we're seeing rallies that are unbelievable. Obviously, today wasn't a great day for the markets, but it's one day, it's a one-off. So people are seeing those 401ks, as the president continues to remind us, making astronomical gains. And, maybe this is a good thing with the Trump accounts to get these young kids invested early on with looking at capital markets, learning how to invest, getting financial literacy. So I see a lot of positives. The gas is the most negative, but again, to contextualize it, it's not nearly what it was under Biden.
So give us a little bit more detail on the latest BLS job report. What is it? What insight can you tell us moving forward from the latest report? I think it came out yesterday?
Yeah, well, I guess the positive is that we did gain jobs. So it wasn't what we were expecting, but we did gain jobs. Unemployment stays about the same. It shows that the economy is kind of stable. It's resilient. But one interesting thing is where we were gaining jobs. I know earlier in the year people would say, "Oh yeah, we had a good jobs report, but it was just all healthcare," and as if that were just like a totally bad thing. But this time we saw gains in the category of professional and business services, and so that's like, I mean, you're professionals, engineers, lawyers, accountants, whatever, scientists, and that type of stuff, which is interesting to me. That suggests, I think, a very positive sign that some career-oriented sectors are growing. And I guess, we're also seeing, I guess, hiring in some ways, yeah, it's wages are still growing, hiring is cooling. I mean, the only positive you may take from that is that it signals that we might have Fed Reserve cutting rates later in the year. I don't know. We've got on the dot plot, we have suggestions that the Fed's going to maintain rates or maybe even raise interest rates. I personally don't like anything that the Federal Reserve does whatsoever. But I wish the thing didn't exist. But if you're trying to take it from the president's perspective, he's been calling for a reduction in interest rates, and if you're on board with that, that would be a positive. I get nervous about the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates to artificial rates, because that's also how you get inflation. If you just put too much circulation into the money supply, too much money in circulation, and you risk stimulating the economy based on artificial numbers, that's always a bad thing. So that stuff makes me nervous. But yeah, I think the jobs report is for the most part, yeah, it was below expectations. But is it bad news? No, it's not bad news. It's just news.
All right, we're talking with Allyn Mendenhall. I got one more for you before we run out of time, but this is sort of a 30,000-foot view question. I'm sure you get it all the time. But, you mentioned artificial intelligence. So I know with the birth of the internet, jobs were created because of the internet. This feels different to me, right? It feels like artificial intelligence, for how amazing it is, and it's going to be incredibly destructive to jobs that you may farm out to somebody else. Like you don't need graphic designers anymore. You're not going to need anybody to do these tasks that even creative tasks that the middle rung folks would do down the road. You don't need anybody to talk to you about real estate. I mean, the number of jobs that are going to be replaced or eliminated, I mean, it's almost endless. Where do you see that? Do you see a lot of new jobs or equal jobs being birthed from AI, or do you see a massive loss there in the end?
Well, I share the anxiety, but I try to keep a historical perspective in mind and look back over the course of centuries. I mean, we panicked when the printing press came out. We panicked when we had cars. I mean, there are a lot of jobs that we don't have anymore. I mean, there was a huge demand for train conductors at one point, and we don't do train. There was a huge demand for switchboard operators and
horse and buggy drivers, right?
So yeah, a lot of things like that. And so I try to bear in mind that there are things that will come out of AI that are just unforeseeable. We don't know what they're going to be. That's the whole notion of Schumpeter's theory of creative destruction, is that, you get some really disruptive technology that comes in and it does eliminate jobs in different sectors, but it creates new jobs that are totally unanticipated. And it's because they're unanticipated that I can't say what they're going to be, so I just have to be hopeful that AI follows the historical pattern of other innovations and other technologies that came about, and that we'll find new things and new forms of jobs. But yeah, I do share the anxiety because I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see the future. So I share that anxiety.
Allyn Mendenhall, tell everybody where they can find you and, the pieces that you've written and what you got going on over at the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, well, thanks. My website is www.allynmendenhall.com. I say that because it rolls off the tongue. I had this one host make fun of me because I throw the www. He's like, you don't have to say that anymore. But it's just my name, allynmendenhall.com. And then, of course, you can always go to the Free Enterprise Initiative at the Heritage Foundation and look at what we're doing there. We're doing a lot of cool corporate engagement where we're filing shareholder proposals with companies that are doing some bad things. So that's fun work.
Outstanding. Listen, I appreciate it. It was great talking to you. Let's do it again real soon, but I thank you, and I'll talk down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. You got it. All right, we'll take a short break. Don't forget, you can watch what's going on, thegatewaypundit.com, Wayne's Rumble, Wayne's X, Getter, Root for America, all those great spots. Of course, if you're listening on one of the great radio stations across the country, thank you for doing that. We'll take a short time out. You are listening and watching The War Zone.
All right, Wayne Allyn, the root is on fire. My new book, How Illegal Immigrants Have Made America Great. It's 100 blank pages. It's a gag gift. Illegal immigrants have obviously not made America great. They haven't done a damn thing to make America great or better. They make it worse every day. They murder, they rape, they use up all our money on welfare and 1,000 other government programs. They're terrorists. It's a disaster. They try and murder ICE agents. They're in this country illegally. And day after day, you hear these stories of rape and murder. It's terrible. How illegal immigrants have made America great. 100 blank pages. Give it to all your conservative friends. They will laugh out loud. Give it to all your liberal friends. Their heads will explode. Only place to get it at Amazon.com. I put all my books at Amazon.com. This is either my 19th or 20th book. I've lost track. I think it's my 20th because I've written several that have been put in multiple languages, so I count them as well. Matter of fact, my book, Trump Rules of Success, is coming out in Indonesia in the next month. So I've written 20 books, How Illegal Immigrants Have Made America Great, at Amazon. Go to Wayne Allyn. Once you're at Amazon, just click on Wayne Allyn. And first book that comes up is How Illegal Immigrants Have Made America Great. Freedom Fest is the sponsor of this segment, and Dean Cain is standing by, otherwise known as Superman, and basically a border agent as well. I think he's either an honorary ICE agent or border agent. We'll get to that in a minute. But he's a great guy, and he's going to be with me tomorrow at the mock trial at Freedom Fest with the whole group watching. It's going to be about like 2,000 people that attend Freedom Fest, and all of them will be there. This is the big mock trial of the whole event. It's called the World's Fair of Liberty, and it's the most popular event at Freedom Fest every year is the mock trial. And this year, ICE will be put on trial, and I will be the ICE defense attorney. And my star witness is border agent J.J. Carroll and Superman actor Dean Cain. Dean is not only my star witness, but my celebrity star witness, Dean Cain. The 12 jurors will be selected from the audience. It will take place tomorrow, Friday, July 10th. You can buy a one-day pass. I've arranged for a special one-day pass for my fans to attend Freedom Fest only on that day to watch the mock trial, which will be broadcast nationwide, by the way, on C-SPAN. My fans only get $50 off the registration fee. Get your tickets now. Go to freedomfest.com and use the promo code WAR50 for $50 off. That's Friday, July 10th, tomorrow, a special one-day ticket to watch me defend ICE in the mock trial and watch Dean Cain as my celebrity star witness. Go to freedomfest.com, promo code WAR50. Can't wait to meet all of you there. When it's over, there'll be about 1 hour before I have to I have to run to a dinner where I'm the MC, Master of Ceremonies, for a dinner for 500 people at Freedom Fest. So I've got about an hour to kill. So I'll be glad to stay as long as I can and meet everybody and say hi to everybody and take pictures with everybody and talk to my fans. So we'll see you at Freedom Fest tomorrow. And we'll see Dean Cain there as well. He's my guest right now. Actor, producer, filmmaker, starred in many Hollywood films, many TV shows, including the role of Superman in the TV series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Dean Cain, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Wayne. Good to see you, my friend. I hope you brushed up on your lawyerness for tomorrow. So that should be a lot of fun. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like an actor who doesn't read his lines before he walks out on the set. I have no time, so I'm just going to walk out and wing it. I haven't done one thing, to be honest with you, but I could make an argument in my sleep against illegal immigration. It's insanity. Yes. I opened the show today, Dean, with like 10 straight stories about illegal aliens raping and murdering and trying to murder cops and Democrats defending them and trying to make sure they're not deported out of our country. Don't you find that just insane? It's one thing to say, listen, I want to deport all of them. I really do. If you break into our country, I want to get rid of everyone. But I can at least understand the argument if you're a nice person, you're naive, and you say, that man has been here 20 years and he's been a good person and he's worked hard. I don't want you going after him. I'll have that debate with you, but at least I can understand your side. But the fact that Democrats defend people that are rapists, murderers, and pedophiles who rape little children, and they seem to be like it's the most important thing in the world to not allow them to be deported or to be sent to jail, is just beyond my ability to understand.
I can't explain it in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like any other country on the planet, we have the right to enforce our borders. And that's what ICE means, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, if someone breaks in here, said that guy who's been here 20, 30 years, they have had multiple opportunities to make themselves legal, and they haven't taken that step. So that's the problem right there. I mean, I've had a home in Spain for 20 plus years. I follow their immigration laws. Every time I travel or work in Canada or Mexico or Europe or any place else, I follow all of their immigration laws, and it's an easy thing to do. People here have just taken advantage of the system. The Democrats want the voting base, and they want to give them free things to get their votes. And they want to legalize everybody who's here illegally in order to have a larger number of people for apportionment for Congress. I mean, so it's real straightforward, but it's not safe for the American people. It's against the law. And if they don't like the way that the laws are written, then
change the law.
Your congressmen and women.
Right. Change the law. But you have no right to break it. You have no right to break it. And not only do illegals, Dean, not have a right to break it, but no politician. See, here's Trump's failing. I love Trump, but I don't understand why he's not arresting people like Mandami and Karen Bass. When a mayor says, I will not allow ICE in my city, and if they come in my city, I will warn ICE they're coming, and I will actively defend. You don't need to comply with federal immigration law. Really? That makes you a criminal. That. You're a criminal. You're aiding and abetting criminal actions, and you're refusing. That's an insurrection, refusing the laws of the federal government of the United States. So we should be arresting those politicians to set an example.
Yeah, I don't know what the DOJ's take is on that. I recently sat down with our acting attorney general, hopefully be soon the full attorney general, Todd Blanche. I would like to have asked him that question. I guess I should have talked to you before I sat down with him because I don't know the answer. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. Here's federal law. We have the supremacy clause. Of course, you know, whether it's a constitutional question, whether the states' rights allow them to do that, I don't know the answer, but it seems insane, and it's against the security, the national security of the United States of America.
You would have made a good lawyer as well. You're a good talker, but you're probably like me, right? I went to school and I got straight A's, but never studied, never cracked a book. I'm just not the type, right? I didn't want to spend 3 years in law school. I went to Columbia University and I said, I can't wait to get out. And I canceled my idea of going to law school because I just couldn't even stomach another minute in a classroom with these boring professors. Oh my God. It was like getting your teeth pulled sitting in a classroom at Columbia for a guy like me. Other kids loved it. But for me, I was like calling my bookmaker instead of going to class. It's just, I wasn't cut out to be a student, a studier, you know? Because you could have been a lawyer. You're a smart guy. I bet you didn't like classrooms either, right?
Didn't love it. I'm a Princeton guy. I graduated from Princeton. But I didn't, when I got there, I was shocked at how sort of behind I was. But by the time I was a senior, I was cruising through. So it was a little more difficult for me coming from a public high school in Santa Monica, a Malibu kid, you know, and I was the first kid from the football team that ever went to the Ivy League. We had some other guys that could have done it, but I'm the first one to have done so. But I didn't love class, man. I was so happy to get out of college and be done with that and get out in the world and sort of, you know, find my way, which I'm still finding at the ripe old age of 2.
I have a feeling that you had a very similar college career to mine. I was going out every night to Studio 54. That was my Columbia time. I was calling bookmakers during the day, betting on football games, and I was going to Studio 54 and Xenon at night. And I'm sure your career was not much different at Princeton. But
it has not worked out for either one of us. Terrible.
But here's the deal. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be very proud of me that I know this. I believe you're the all-time leader in interceptions in a season in the history of Princeton, the Ivy Leagues, and I think you're like tied for the all-time number in the history of the NCAA or something like that, right?
Well, actually, yeah, for Princeton in the Ivy League for sure. And for a long time, for 13 years, I held the interception record in a single season for a player, which was 12 at my senior year. But I did it in 10 games. So what I do have, I still hold 2 NCAA records, which are per game averages. Per game average for a season, 1.2, and per game average for a career, I had 22 in 30 games. So I like to pick off passes, and I led our team in tackles, and so I was a very active free safety. That's why I got my shot to go play for these guys, the Buffalo Bills. And unfortunately, that ended a little bit too early, like early. Like I could have had, if we talk for 10 more minutes on this call, on this interview here, that's about how much time I got to spend in Buffalo.
Did you get hurt, by the way, when you were with the Buffalo Bills? The injury ended your career? Is that what happened?
It was a knee. And I didn't think that was the end. I thought I was coming back. My rookie year, we lost the AFC Championship. I was a rookie with Thurman Thomas. And so we had, Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Darryl Talley. We had all these great, unbelievable players, and Andre Reed. And I that was the time. So if I'd have played for 5 years, I would have seen 4 Super Bowls. And I love to believe that we
would have won a couple of them with you.
And I made the squad.
There you go. I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, by the way. I've been for, since I'm 5 years old. So I've been a Dallas Cowboy fan for over half a century. And we beat the Bills in 2 of those 4 Super Bowls pretty badly.
Thank you.
So
I'm glad you weren't. I'm
glad you weren't on the Bills.
Yeah, that would have hurt. But Jason Garrett is one of my real close friends. He was my quarterback in college, and he ended up playing for the Cowboys for a long time.
I missed that name. Who was it?
Jason Garrett.
Oh, Jason Garrett. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Princeton. Right.
Yeah.
He was a brainiac too. Smart guy. Very good.
Smart guy.
All right.
Great guy.
He would. Because I'm a Cowboy fan my whole life, I remember the few times he came in, and he did fantastic every time as a backup when there was an injury. And I believe one of those was a big national Thanksgiving game, and he had a great game, threw a winning touchdown, I think, against someone, probably the Redskins, if I know. Now they're the Commanders, but in those days they were the Redskins. They should be the Redskins.
The Redskins, Wayne.
So you served as an honorary ICE officer. How did that come about, and what was that experience like?
Well, I'm a sworn deputy sheriff and have been for close to a decade now in Frederick County, Virginia. I'm a reserve police officer in Pocatello, Idaho. I joined those forces because it was during the, defund the police time, and people are always picking on the police. And I'm like, the police are heroes. Are there bad instances? Yeah, there are. Can there be bad contact with police officers? Sure. And that's the outlier, and it happens, and there's a way to rectify that. But calling these people, Nazis and Gestapo and things of that nature, and going against the police at the time, I thought that was insane. So, excuse me. So I joined the police force. I became a deputy sheriff, became a reserve police officer, and then all of a sudden this thing came up with ICE, where everybody was going after ICE and saying how awful and terrible, and they're Nazi and they're Gestapo. And I was like, this is insane. So I joined as an honorary ICE officer. I went through a lot of the training. I haven't finished my training. Todd Lyons, Director Lyons, who was the head of ICE, retired at the end of July, and end of June. Maybe May, I don't know what it was. Maybe May, the end of May. And so I need to finish. I want to finish up all of my training, and I want to become a full-fledged ICE agent. I think that's important. I think it's important to stand with these men and women who protect us every single day and enforce the law. And calling ICE agents Gestapo, I want to put I'm not a Nazi. I don't wish ill will on anybody. I'm a nice person. I root for people to do well. I would help you, get out of your car or get up or any of those things. But if there's a bad person there and they've broken the law, I'm going to be one of those people who try to enforce the law. These people are heroes. I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them every single day.
All right, you and I are like carbon copies, my friend. We're like the same person. And by the way, I spent 13 years in Malibu. I lived in right above, it was in the Trancas area, and at the very top of Trancas is the Maharaji of India's home, his mansion, right? And I was right next to my home, overlooked him with his helicopter pad, the only legal residential helicopter pad in all of Los Angeles County was allowed to take off, and like maybe 2-3 times a week, I'd hear this wild noise. My whole house would shake, and it was the Maharaji's helicopter taking off right next to my house, and it was the most majestic thing. It was amazing. But I spent a lot of time in Malibu, and I'm glad I left because, Dean, in the 24 years I've been gone, I've been in Vegas 24 years. Both houses I lived in Malibu have since burned to the ground. So it's lucky I didn't stay, because my house would be gone and my life would be dramatically changed. And then
you have a lot less money too, because all of your money would be paid in taxes.
And the other thing you and I have in common is you moved to Vegas from Malibu, and that's what I did all those years ago. So congratulations.
I did it 3 years ago, and it was the smartest move I ever made. I wish we were talking about this 20 years ago. I might have zipped out earlier, but I'm happy being in Vegas. Love Nevada's laws and what's going on here. So I'm extremely happy to be here with you, my friend.
Think of all the money I saved in 24 years of that ridiculous taxes in California. And Dean, tell them all, where do those high taxes go? Why do you need such high taxes in California? Because of all the illegal aliens.
100%. And all the, homelessness there is and the NGOs that do things there, homelessness, welfare state, all those things,
climate change
for everybody,
climate change.
It's just grifters. And guys like Gavin Newsom are absolutely reaching in everybody's pockets and putting everything through a non-governmental organization, whether or not it's, attached to his wife's new NGO or whatever it is. I mean, they're just fleecing the American people. There's no reason for all that madness out there. Half of the United States homeless population, I think, is in California, which is, it's because they encourage it. Pay people to be there. They pay them to give them money, our tax money, and they pay them. There's a reason that California went from a $95 billion surplus or something like that to absolutely huge deficit, and there's a reason that Gavin Newsom's doing just fine, and his wife is doing just fine.
Right, no cry
it's
for
a
them.
terrible thing. Please do not California our United States. I'll do anything I can to stop that from happening.
And don't California Kate Nevada. And the guy running for governor is my buddy, Governor Joe Lombardo. He is the present governor running for re-election. He's great. Who's running against them? I think he pronounces it Aaron Ford. Aaron Ford. He gets mad when you call him Aaron. Aaron Ford. And this guy is such a commie loser that I heard today Newsom is in Vegas endorsing Aaron Ford. And so Governor Newsom is here trying to California Kate Nevada. He's not happy he's ruined California enough. Him and his wife together are under a federal investigation. And I'm sure there's a good reason for it, because I'm sure they stole a lot of NGO money. But again, it's an opinion show, just my opinion. Last but not least, what do you think of the job that President Trump has done?
I would give him an A+. I love what he has done. And I was on a show yesterday where somebody was picking on me, going after everything. Is he a convicted sexually liable, blah, blah, all this crazy stuff. And has he turned around the economy? He's done all this. Has he done no new wars, blah, blah, blah. I believe President Trump loves. I love this country, and if you cut me open, I'd bleed red, white, and blue. The same as Secretary Hegseth, and the same as President Trump. President Trump is a patriot. He loves this country like very few. And I think when you have a tanker, which is the United States, moving down a waterway, it takes a minute to turn it around. I think we were in big trouble under the prior administration. Biden's administration is the worst I've ever seen, ever. And I think we were in huge trouble. It's going to take a minute to turn that tanker around. And President Trump is having to fight with Congress, fight with some of his own rhinos and things like that to get things done. But I truly believe he's been playing 3D chess. I love what he's doing in Iran. Clean it out, finish the job, please, and maybe there'll be peace in the Middle East. And I'd love to see the midterms go toward the Republicans, because if he has that happen, we will be in the golden age of the United States of America.
So when I was, again, you and I are like two peas in a pod. When I was younger, I was in my 20s. I was a big time potential game show host in Los Angeles. And I was picked by ABC and Merrill Heater, who was the biggest game show producer in the city, to be the new host of Gambit. And they found out that I was a Republican because I held a fundraiser at my Malibu home for the Republican National Congressional Committee. And it made the front pages, I think, of the Malibu paper. And I think it also made the LA Times. And all of a sudden, my agent dropped me. And ABC did not pick up the pilot, and Merrill Heater never called me again, and I lost my entire career. So I want to know how it works out with you, because Hollywood's worse now than it ever was then. How do you keep a career going, Dean, in Hollywood while being a conservative MAGA guy who's pro-ICE and pro-Trump?
It doesn't make me popular with some of the producers out there, but I think, again, times are changing, because all this woke garbage that Hollywood's been putting out is dying on the vine, and it's costing them hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think that at the end of the day, it's a business, and people are going to go, no, I don't like this. I love the fact that David Ellison will be taking over Paramount. I love that, and maybe even Warner Brothers. I'd like to see some of this woke slop stop getting made. I'd love to see more shows like, or more films, big blockbusters like Top Gun Maverick, things like that. I'd love to see that happen. For me, Hollywood doesn't tell you to your face that I won't hire you because I think you're conservative and, support the police, which is crazy because every third show is a cop show. But
Right.
they won't say that to your face. They'll stab you in the back. Although my agent recently did just tell me, that there was something I was up for, and they were like, "That Dean Cain? No way. That guy's the crazy MAGA
Terrible.
right-wing
Right.
insane person." It's
Of
like,
course.
what is insane about loving the United States, supporting our law enforcement? I root for everybody. I want everybody to do well. And I gave a speech yesterday at Freedom Fest about what I think the American way is, and put it out there pretty straightforwardly. And I think that's true. I think America's the best country ever. We have the most freedom. We're the most giving. We are the strongest nation. We have that frontiersman, rugged, never say die attitude. And we also think that we are going to win, because we believe in what we're doing. I do believe that there's a lot of providence from God that protects the people here and allows us our freedoms. When you look at and when you travel outside of the United States, that's one of the biggest ways you can try to do business outside the United States. You
Hard
start
to
to
do.
understand how we are we're not perfect, but we are the greatest nation on earth, and we're always striving for a more perfect union. And
Yes.
part of that is having these conversations with people we disagree with, and they don't do that enough. And then I put out my content. I do a lot of Christian faith-based movies. I just directed 2 this last year, produced, directed, wrote, starred in them. They're going to be coming out this year. I'm just finishing up those projects now. Just shot another movie in Texas. I keep working despite the blacklist, despite all this happening. And I think I'll be able to beat this turn where people don't ask you about your politics when they're trying to hire you for a film. They just look at you and look at your talent and say, maybe are they the right person or the wrong person? Or I'll create it myself, my friend.
You know who you remind me of? A very good friend of mine, Kevin Sorbo. And he's
That's a great
very
guy.
much politically like you and does his own movies. Can't get movies in Hollywood anymore, but he makes his own and he's doing very well. Their movies are doing fantastic. They're mostly Christian themed. Kevin and his wife, Sam, really good friends of mine. And he's a regular guest on my show just as you are. So, Kevin, do you know Kevin? Are you friends?
So one of the films I just finished was called Holy One. It's about a guy who was going down the wrong path, completely gambling, drinking, womanizing, and then he tries to kill himself in sort of It's a Wonderful Life kind of a way, and then he gets a little help and becomes this guy who's quoting scripture and playing golf. And Kevin Sorbo stars in it, and Sam Sorbo, she plays his wife in it, and it's a
There you go.
beautiful, fun film called Holy One that I'll be finishing probably in the next 30 days.
All right, so you guys are friends now. Very good. You guys are friends now.
Great. Oh, yeah. We have been forever. In fact, when we came out of Superman, there was 2 of us left. The final 2 people, myself and Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
So I went on to play Superman. He went off to play Hercules.
Hercules, right. Hercules and Superman. I love it. All right. I will see you tomorrow at Freedom Fest. You're my star witness. Remind me when I see you, because my birthday's coming up and I got a big party. And guess who sent a letter to be read out loud to the crowd at my party? President Donald J. Trump. It's the most beautiful letter. Remind me to show you the letter. You're going to get a kick out of it. And he hand wrote some of it at the bottom. He is just an unbelievable guy, and I agree with you. A plus, A plus. He's doing a great job. Thank you, Kev. Thank you, Kevin. See, Kevin Sorbo's on my mind now. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dean Cain. Superman, I'll see you tomorrow at the trial at Freedom Fest.
Thank you, Wayne. Let's get
God
it.
bless. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
God bless,
All right,
brother.
well, one more segment to go. We'll be right back. All right, Wayne on the route. Dan Montano is with me. He's the CEO of Zicha Genesis Medicine, a biotech company developing medicines to treat Parkinson's, type 2 diabetes, and even heart disease. And now Zicha has a new breakthrough, exciting, to potentially reverse chronic pain. Dan, tell us about your breakthrough that could lessen or eliminate the pain for people suffering from neuropathy, back pain, or migraine headaches.
Very simple. As we've been dosing people for those other indications, they keep reporting to us the pain in their feet is gone. The pain in their back is gone. Their migraines have stopped. So as we started digging into it more over the last couple of months, we've discovered that nerve regeneration is something our molecule can treat. And we're starting to see people that we dose on Monday and Thursday, their back pain's gone. Their migraines have stopped. So we're now taking that to a medical research study here in Las Vegas.
Big one for me would be neuropathy, foot pain, because I have several friends who have lived wonderful lives, successful, they're CEOs, and they could barely walk anymore because of neuropathy. What have you done for that?
Well, the people we've dosed for their diabetes have reported after a week or two that they don't have the pain anymore. So we're going to run with that and find out how much of that is true and how much of that we can repeat.
Amazing. What are your next steps?
Well, we're going to be getting a clearance here in Las Vegas to do a medical research study. We'll be doing it primarily for back pain, neuropathy, and headaches, migraine headaches primarily. We'll have that approval probably in 30 to 60 days and start dosing people here in Vegas.
And you're looking for test patients and investors, correct?
Same as with the type 2 diabetes. As you know, Wayne, you guys generate a lot of subjects for us to test, and you also produce a lot of investors for us. So we're looking for the same. Chronic back pain is everywhere. People have got it. It's serious, and we've been able to alleviate it. I'm excited. This could be the biggest thing around.
Dan, why is your approach to treating pain different?
Well, first of all, we don't camouflage the pain. We treat the nerve that is sick. We heal the nerves. With this white paper, which is on the website, curewar.com, is phenomenal. Everybody should be downloading that and reading this, like a science fiction novel on how your nerves regenerate. That's how we do it. On the nerves.
Dan Montano is the CEO of Zicha Genesis Medicine, the website cure-war.com, looking for test subjects and investors, cure-war.com.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the War Zone. And, of course, you can watch on the Gateway Pundit, Wayne's Rumble, Wayne's X, Getter, Root for America, all those great places. I think Wayne will be back on maybe Thursday, Thursday or Friday. I know the one thing I do know that Wayne, this is going to be fun. Freedom Fest, the World's Fair of Liberty, is coming fast, July 8th. It's here, man. What's today? It's tomorrow, right? Oh, well, that's where Wayne's going to be tomorrow. The World's Fair of Liberty. So you got to go to this. The most popular event at Freedom Fest every year is the mock trial. And this year, ICE itself will be put on trial. And Wayne Allyn Root will be the defense attorney for ICE. Star witness for the defense will be that Superman actor Dean Cain and veteran Border Patrol agent J.J. Carell. 12 jurors will be selected from the audience. And as I've been telling you, you could be one of them. That'd be kind of cool. Get up there on stage. It'll take place Friday, July 10th, 5 o'clock. So Wayne has arranged for a special one-day pass for his fans to attend Freedom Fest that day to watch the mock trial. And war fans, they get $50 off registration free. Get your tickets right now. Go to freedomfest.com and use the promo code WAR50 for a $50 sort of credit off of the price, which is great. This Friday, July 10th, a special one-day ticket to watch Wayne defend ICE in a mock trial. Go to freedomfest.com. Promo code WAR50 and get $50 off. I don't know how Wayne does it, man. I'm serious. He's all over the place. He's 1,000 miles an hour. I had to take a nap today. I took a nap. I'm a grown man. Napped. I didn't really get a good nap, though. It was only 20 minutes. But I needed it. But this guy, I mean, he's doing 15 shows. He is running around like a lunatic, and now he's defending ICE, which I think would be a lot of fun. I kind of would like to. I wish I could have gone to that. It seems like that would be a lot of fun. To check that out. Oh, okay. All right. So one of our favorite people in the entire world to talk to, and hopefully we can keep him a little bit, and that's Michael Harrison from Talkers. And, you know, Michael has been doing this amazing, I think it's a gift to media personalities, in particular talk media personalities, I think since the 80s. Mike, is it the 80s you've had this magazine that long, right?
Almost the 80s. We launched it in July of 1990. So it's going on 36 years old. Amazing.
It is amazing. And it is the Bible, if you will, for talk radio. And I thank you for coming on. I know you're super busy and you've probably got a million people tugging at you all the time. But I wanted to talk to you about a few things. We'll start with the media, and then we'll, if you don't mind, morph into the world of politics. But You coined the term media station back in the 90s. How accurately did the vision predict where radio is today? Because radio is a part now of this giant mechanism of the media, right? You can't do a radio show really anymore without having a video component, right?
Yeah, and also you have to be able to write. You have to put out some type of a text component. You have to be able to post pictures, graphics. There's no isolated media the way there was back in the 20th century when a newspaper was in newsprint, and that was it. And the local television station did the news, and they presented news programs on a video screen, which was your TV set. And radios came out of a radio device, an appliance, or a radio set. We used to use the word set a lot. And if you went to the movies, you would get to see something that you couldn't really see on TV that easily unless it was around for a couple of years, and then it would be the ABC movie of the week, and it was some old movie that you saw years ago. Right. But now it's on television. It was all separate. And here, as we begin, I believe, the second quarter of the 21st century, do you believe how far in the future we are? My goodness. Everything blends into everything else. So I consider any outlet, if you're primarily a news organization, if you're primarily a film company, or primarily a television station, or primarily a radio station, or a radio show, or a podcast, or whatever you are a media station. Because you're only limiting yourself to that one dimension, which is a throwback to the 20th century, by calling yourself, we're a radio station, or we're a news organization, or newspaper. The newspaper could be doing the evening news on video. The radio station could be putting out a news service. There's no natural boundary anymore between these platforms. And that's what I meant by the emergence of the media station. It's kind of a mentality at this point of just which direction and what venues you want to pursue as a media person or a media company.
If you were a media company and you were you were buying or creating a media outlet, let's say you had radio aspirations, I mean, you would have to build almost a set now, even if you had, even like an ABC in New York, or even some of the smaller stations across the country. If you were just starting out, if I were doing it, I would build a set almost so that my talk show hosts could, with a flip of a switch, could go on all of these platforms and make it a lot easier, because I tell you, it can get a little complicated trying to upload all this stuff. And, you're working on a million different media platforms, whether it's X or Instagram or Getter or whatever. And I don't know, I'm of the old, I guess, cloth, Michael, is that it's not that it's too much, but I enjoyed the appointment listening. I liked it when the radio station was the only outlet for it. I know those days are long gone, but maybe I'm a dinosaur, but I don't know. What do you think? Is that part of this equation now? You have to be all encompassing, right?
I don't think you have to be anything. I think you could be what you want to be as long as you're really good at it. Yeah. And in ratio to how good you are at it will be determining how successful you are at it. So if you're just mediocre and not that great, well, yeah, be everywhere. So more people might, who happen to like what you do will check you out. But if you're really, really good, people will seek that special, or here's a word, the specificity. I wasn't sure I'd be able to say it. The specificity of your platform. What do you mean, Lee? What do you mean when you say build a set? What do you have in mind when you're talking about those terms, to build a set?
I appreciate you asking me that. So our engineer was in here the other day, and the owner was in here the other day, and the setup here I have in the studio, we got all the modern stuff, but it's really not conducive to the video angle of it, right? So, we were talking about how to build out the best, let's say, format for a camera to be in front, a camera for my guests, the microphone in the right spot, the backdrop to be in the right spot, all of that. And I think, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of money necessarily to do it, but I think you have to think it out and plan it out. Where, the old days, it was a radio studio. It was, you were behind a microphone, behind a console, and that was it. But, I think it's just got to be a little different. If I were starting a media outlet and a radio station, that's how I would do it, because you've got to hit all the avenues. I know you say if you've got talent, you don't necessarily have to, and I think you're right. But I mean, people, in particular younger people, are searching it out on all of these different internet platforms.
That's true. And I'm thinking, as you're saying that we're at a time now where you don't have to build a set. You don't have to, like, I'm in a real studio here. I have a picture over there. Left and right gets crazy when you see screens of Rembrandt, one of my favorite artists. We have the Talkers logo. We have some keyboards. We have over on under Rembrandt, you may see a couple of like headphones and stuff. I don't know how much is on your screen, but to behind me in that direction is a classic poster from the Fillmore East back in the days of album rock.
Sure.
And we change things around a lot, but those are real things. I'm in a real physical place. But if you're really up to speed with the technology today, you don't have to have that. I could just have a blue screen behind me.
That's
and
true.
with AI and with computer generated graphics, I could be on water skis. I could be being chased by dinosaurs. Any possible thing you could imagine. I think that we went through the paradigm shift, Lee, back during COVID, when suddenly everybody was broadcasting from their homes.
Yeah.
And this was even happening in places like CNN and Fox. Yeah, they would never let anybody go on a cell phone, an iPhone, from their home. They'd send a limousine to you and drive through a blizzard for 6 minutes on screen in those days. But then when COVID came, people started broadcasting from home. So what did most of them do? Because I was tracking all of this. I saw this as a major paradigm shift. Most of them would find their bookshelf. And you still see it today. And people will sit in front of their bookcase. It makes you look like your studio, like a law office where they have the legal library. None of them use it anymore. It's there for show. And am I right? So,
No, you're right. You're 100% right. You would think like 80% of the backdrops that you see are books that people never read, right? So that's probably the case.
One of the hobbies now is people checking out, let's see what books he's reading. You know.
No, I guess for my statement was born from the fact that the studio that I'm in right now is an old-fashioned radio studio that we tried to retrofit to add the video component, and there's just not enough space for certain things. So I would think that if I were starting from scratch, I would make it so that it is, it is an easy to use kind of a situation.
So that American flag is real flag flying outside your window?
It's a beautiful day behind me, Michael.
What do you mean you're in a regular radio studio?
It's beautiful.
Where'd that flag come from?
Michael Harrison, Talkers. Whenever I get a chance to track him down and talk, I love it because I'm an old school radio junkie. I just got into my veins when I was in my mid-20s, and here I am all these years later, still wanting to talk about it, still loving to talk about it with somebody as influential and entertaining and smart as Michael Harrison. I'll ask you one more media. Can you stick around for a second break if we can do that?
I can stick around, but I do want to, well, go ahead, ask me the question.
No, go ahead. What'd you have?
Well, I mean, when you talk about being an old school radio guy, you're touching upon the very issue that radio is facing, the challenge it faces here at this point. I call it in the future, because we're sort of like immigrants from the 20th century. We all are. Most of the people listening to this broadcast or viewing this broadcast are people who came on this planet before the year 2000. Statistically, that's true, or shortly thereafter. And radio faces the challenge of maintaining its aesthetic, maintaining its magic, its specialness, which is born of being on a radio station, transmitter, live, local, and spontaneous. All of that is what makes radio great. The challenge is to maintain that aesthetic, we'll call it an aesthetic, here in the 21st century, when we have podcasting and we have online broadcasting and we have screens as well as the theater of the mind. And to do it effectively so as not to fall behind, but in the same process, not to lose that magic and not become just another utilitarian source of records or source of, one talk show after another that have no connection to each other and are not in real time. So that's the real issue that we face in this industry at this time. That is the challenge, to maintain the magic of the 20th century, but the purpose and the technology of the 21st century in radio particularly.
I agree. But there was a romanticness about radio that, unfortunately, when video came in, it killed a certain aspect of that romanticism, because you didn't know what the guy looked like who was talking to you. You didn't know what the female DJ on the rock station looked like. You might get a glimpse of her at a remote if you decided to go to that event or what have you. But for the most part, it was all theater of the mind. And I think that's what made radio super special, super intimate, and very personable. I'm not saying that it's better or worse than it is now. I just think it's different.
That mystery was a big deal. I know when I was a kid and the local DJ would come to the sock hop at the gymnasium, most of the kids were very disappointed when they saw that the guy was a nerd as opposed to the cool cat they heard on the air. Hey, baby, welcome to the Cool Cat Show. And then Cool Cat shows up and he's some goofball.
Yeah. Usually in need of a shower too, right?
Yeah. The joke, you have a face for radio. It comes from that. So, yeah, they're the mystery, but now it's not a mystery. Everybody knows what everybody looks like.
That's true.
Everybody has a show. The audience has an audience. That's a part of the thing that, for people who've been through the years of being in broadcasting, this era is remarkable in as much as the audience has an audience. And the whole interchangeable way in which it goes, the two-way street that media has become, plays a role in how it is ultimately perceived.
And one other thing, I mean, I know there was a time in radio where the size of the stick, and that's a radio lingo, I'm not making any pornographic scenario, the radio stick size, that meant everything, right? I mean, your 50,000 watt flamethrower, that's the whole thing. But now, literally, with the internet, you can carry a station from, if I'm living in Connecticut, from Seattle, if you like it, you can listen to it.
There are no small sticks in this world. I mean, you can go on the smallest website or the smallest podcast and ruin your life in one slip of the tongue. Nothing is hidden from potentially being distributed everywhere in the world. That's a whole different paradigm as well. Think about it. Because used to be, for the folks at home, who don't know what stick is a term from the 20th century in broadcasting to indicate the standard radio station, the tower, the transmitter, the studio, and the license. And the tower gave rise to the word stick. So if somebody's telling somebody else in the business, I got a job on a really big stick. Oh, wow. What stick are you on? I'm on WABC. And we still sometimes call them a stick. It's a dying phrase, but it's a good phrase. I love the phrase stick.
So do I.
In fact, I wrote an article once called "The Stick and the Shtick," and the relationship between form and content, the radio station, as well as the programming. The programming is the shtick, the technology and the might of the radio station, the stick. So you're talking my language, kid.
Michael Harrison is with us, Talkers. So, Michael, we got to take a quick break here in a second, but I know you do a regular podcast, and, Wayne's listeners across the country, I'm sure, would love to get a chance to hear that. I don't know if that's open to everyone or if that's more an industry thing, but is there a place folks can go to find that on a regular basis?
People can go to YouTube, and the show is called Up Close, Far Out with Michael Harrison. And when you get to YouTube, it's at Talkers Media. And the program, it's basically industry oriented, and my show is on there, and we have you on there, as a matter of fact. Your recent little address that you gave at the Talkers Conference is posted. We have just about 95% of the recent Talkers 2026 conference up there on video, so people can attend that. And talkers.com is our address. There's no cost. It's basically for people in the industry, but as I said before, everybody's in show business nowadays, so listeners do enjoy coming to our website, talkers.com.
I got to admit, I was a little intimidated that day. All the heavies in the talker industry was in that room, and I was,
You sell yourself short, my friend. You're a heavy too.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. Let me take a quick break. We've got Michael Harrison from Talkers. I'm going to hold him over and keep him for another break because I always enjoy talking to him, and he doesn't know just radio or media or any just that. He knows a lot about a lot. So we're going to get to some of the things happening in the political world and talk a little bit about what's happening here in the United States, the 250 birthday, all of that, what's going on around the world with our good pal, Michael Harrison. Don't go anywhere. Keep listening. You can watch what's going on at the Gateway Pundit. You can go to Wayne's Rumble, Wayne's X, Getter, RootForAmerica.com. All the radio stations have us playing from one coast to another. Don't go anywhere. Come right back. You are watching and listening to The War Zone. I want to know why Wayne hasn't invited me to the Sphere out in Vegas. I mean, I do all these shows, I fill in, never do I get an invite to the Sphere. I want to go see the Eagles at the Sphere or something like that, right? I used to live in Vegas, for goodness sake, but I've never been to the Sphere. Anyway, this segment of the show is sponsored by Energized Health. You heard Wayne Allyn Root talk about how Energized Health has changed his life. He lost 25 pounds of fat, including the dangerous inner body visceral fat, gained 10 pounds of muscle, and intercellular hydration. 88 days, that's all it took. Now, 5 years later, he feels the best he ever has in his entire life. And I told you, I called him the other day because I saw a video. He was on, 2 weeks ago? And I'm like, he does look good. He looks really good. It's incredible. So he's looking like a champion, and he owes it all to Energized Health. Energized Health, it's not a traditional weight loss program. It's a fat loss program, and it's simple, it's easy, it's healthy, all based on that foundation of the life game changers, extra and intercellular hydration. Now, with all these folks using the Ozempic and the GLPs, Energized Health is working alongside them to help minimize the side effects, and there are side effects. So do fat loss the healthy way, not weight loss, fat loss. Do it healthy. Be like Wayne. Energized Health can change your life, supercharge your health. Do it like Wayne did it. Right now, Energized Health is offering the WAR 40% off action discount, 40% off. Just say WAR, energizedhealth.com. That's energizedhealth.com. The great Michael Harrison is with us, Talkers Magazine, one of our favorite people to bring on, always entertaining and fun to go down, talk radio and media alley to chat about things. But I want to ask you, Michael, about 250, America's birthday just came and went. It was a great celebration. But, I've been talking about this a lot, and I get your opinion on this. So one of my favorite lines from the Declaration is we pledge our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor to this experiment, right? They didn't say it like that, but then not to this experiment, but that's what they pledged. They pledged their lives, their fortune, their sacred honor. Many of them died broke. Many of them, died with nothing. Many of them were killed by their enemies. But the thing that they all had was they had a sacred honor. And, I feel like what's wrong with this country right now is born out of the idea that we have politicians who do not adhere to the sacred honor part of that. They don't put the country first. These men, they put the country first. They did. They had their warts, but they believed in this experiment. They believed that these ragtag bunch of revolutionaries was going to beat the great, maybe, I don't know if they believed it, but they wanted to believe that they were going to beat the greatest military might on earth. And they did, and I think it's remarkable. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think you put it very, very well. You had said they eventually died, but none of them died by a rope hanging, around their neck as a result of losing the revolution and facing uncertain death at the hands of King George. Can you imagine, in today's world, politicians signing a document at which their life is at stake based upon a ragtag amateur army in a country that was very divided on whether the war was even popular? The Revolutionary War was very controversial here in the colonies, and signing their names to it, that if in fact they didn't win, they would certainly die. And now you talk about sacred honor, you talk about courage, guts, commitment, and nobility. I can't think of anybody in this country today that would do that. Certainly people in politics, you know, we have now men and women in politics. When you said before, you know, these men, and I'm saying, yeah, they were all men actually. So that is a remarkable, and I use the word paradigm, I think, twice. I try not to use the same words too many times in one sitting, but that was a very different paradigm in terms of ethics and principles. You know, we tend to think that, you know, our interpretation of good and evil are quite clear cut and very, very connected to the ethics of this period we live in. But there have been other periods of time, and certainly even within the relatively short history of America, when you look back at the whole course of the human condition, there have been times in America when people would run off to join the army because our nation is under attack. They didn't talk about how it impacted the stock market, or, well, you know, how much will an egg cost us? It was a very different psychology of what it was to be free, what it was to engage in liberty, and what it was to be an American. So I did a lot of thinking, as I know you did, and many of our colleagues have, this 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, as to what these things really mean. Now, you touched upon it very well in setting up the question. So I just say, yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it, how many options we have as human beings in terms of building our own personal and collective principles.
I'm glad you brought up running off to war. So on Friday of last week, on the eve of the 4th of July, Thursday midnight into Friday, I did 17 hours and 76 continuous minutes of radio, right? I did it for, we went on at midnight, and we signed off at 6:16 p.m. And I brought on a bunch of guests, and some of the guests told stories about either their grandparents or their dying. They had still people in their family still alive, couldn't get to the studio, but still alive, that served in World War II. And as you just so, you know, amazingly pointed out, these men, they lied about how old they were so that they could sign up. I mean, think about that. They lied.
Yeah. They lied so that they could get in. If some of them were 15, 16 years old. History is full of stories like that, where the soldiers on the battlefield were children. And even if they're 18 or 19, frankly, they're still children.
I agree.
Gosh, you know, Lee, it's so important for people to have an understanding of history, to really be able to engage in intelligent voting, to be able to engage in running a complicated entity, a democracy and a republic that is the United States of America here in 2026. I think ignorance and idiocy and downright stupidity are far more dangerous than many of the boogeymen that we talk about today, no matter whether you're on the left or the right, about what's ruining our country. I think the biggest danger to our freedom and to our progress and to our standing in the world and to humanity's standing in the universe is stupidity, ignorance, and idiocy. That's what I think.
But if we could tap in just to a fraction of what the founders possessed, that idea of putting the country first, self last, and that mindset is, you know, what birthed this great experiment. And if we even could just get a little bit of that, put those folks in some places where you could, out of just sheer leadership, and show that is a way that can change everything. Because we talk about now, how do we change it? How do we, you know, fix the ultra poor as compared to the ultra rich? And how do we talk about the partisanship and the divide and the anger and the hatred towards this group and that group? I think it's all born out of the fact that people are so self-interested now and so self-centered in their own advancement that they forget, in particular when they get into politics, they forget why they're supposed to get into politics. They're supposed to get into politics to be leaders, civic leaders, and make the community a better place.
It's a vicious cycle. The media and the politicians, and this happens on both sides. Folks, I try to remain nonpartisan. I'm very partisan when it comes to supporting the First Amendment, and that's as far as it goes. I'm all for the free marketplace of ideas. But a lot of what you're talking about, Lee, comes from the tendency these days of politicians and media. The media is supposed to be the protector of the people from the politicians and from the government. The politicians and the media tend to play specifically to the selfish concerns of the population. And that's why they tear us apart. That's why people live in echo chambers. Yep. And that's why we have the kind of tension and violence that we're experiencing today.
Don't you think some of these big media outlets have failed the public? Grotesquely. I do. I think you look at, like you said, they cater to their listeners. I get it. There's a certain sense of it. You got to make money. Otherwise, you can't stay on the air. But when you're not telling the entire truth and you are sort of parsing it out in a way that makes your listeners or your viewers happy, I think that's a huge disservice. That's not why the media folks signed up. And I do my best never to do that, Michael, but I know that there are people out there that do, and I don't like it.
If making money is the primary criteria for serving the public, that you only serve the public, whether you're a government, whether you're a business, whether you're an individual, based upon how good a business it is, then that is a very, very terrible rebuke of capitalism and free enterprise. It means that they don't work. So I worry about that all the time. Free enterprise and capitalism without social responsibility is just as deadly as all these other forms of government that we supposedly are so fearful of. We become the very thing we're afraid of.
I know. What would you tell let's say you're advising somebody who's in this business and struggling, they have to cover politics. Maybe they're a talk show host or what, and you have to try to advise them on how not to alienate half their audience. What would you tell them?
Well, if I were doing it the way it's being done, it's being told you must alienate half your audience. The whole game is based on alienating half your audience. There was once a time when people didn't, never talk politics, religion, or sports. I didn't do it in the right order. I think it was don't talk politics, don't talk sports, and don't talk religion. I don't know, but you get the point. I believe that you got to do business and you got to protect yourself. You got to create income. You got to be able to face reality. But I think that, as I said before, I would advise anybody that being good, that's a nice generalization, being good is one of the tenets of successful business. That if you try to a certain degree to be honest, and you try to a certain degree to make your customer, your audience, your target participant better off, that actually will make you money. I think that
I agree.
I think people overlook that. I tried to run my business and businesses with that principle. I can't say whether I'm succeeding. I leave it to guys like you to tell me. But the fact is, I think that doing a good job for the people that consume your product is a way to make money. That's what I believe.
I agree with that. I think people are desperately thirsty for authenticity, right? Somebody who's genuine and, comes behind a microphone every day and tells you what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And I think people gravitate towards that. I think those are the most successful folks. And you had a lot of those up on the stage, a month or so ago who have created, a very special place in the world of talk media and media in general now because they're authentic, right? I think that's true.
But I do think, going back to the conversation we had a few minutes ago about the founding fathers and the principles of America, and we hold these truths to be self-evident and sacred honor. I do believe that the American experiment, another word that you brought up, the American experiment is based on the fact that we're not perfect. We do not claim to be perfect. What we claim to do is to strive toward improvement. We claim to strive toward, ultimately, like a North Star, perfection. Right. And that people don't get that. And I think that that's something that should be driven into everybody's head. No, we're not perfect. We're hardly perfect, but we want to be. The arc of history hopefully leads, I think Martin Luther King said that, to a good place.
Michael Harrison is his name, Talkers Magazine. is his baby. He's had it since, as he said, early in the 90s, and he's reshaped the industry in an incredible way. Any general thoughts on what I know this is a very political question, it's a basic, boring political question, but, any thoughts on what we're going to witness in the midterms here? We're going to see a flip-floppy, or what do you think's happening?
I think there's a good chance that we're going to see a flip-flop. That's sort of historic anyway. And the nature of the combatants, if you will, kind of, if you step back and don't buy into the bubble of whatever side you're on, there's a good chance that there'll be a flip-flop. But then again, you never know. I think it's going to be very interesting, exciting, and it's going to be very meaningful.
I tell you, I got 3 more ships were attacked today, and Trump's, I hate to say it, but it feels like we're in a weird quagmire, and I don't know. We had at least a couple of days where things looked great, and now all of a sudden things don't look so great, and I don't know what his next move is going to be.
I hope he has an idea of what his next move is going to be.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be very reassuring.
All right. Michael Harrison, Talkers, I thank you for sticking around a little extra. I appreciate it. I could talk to you about the business all day long. But one more time, if you don't mind, just tell everybody where to find all the things that you do, because you do such great work. Where do they go?
Check out talkers.com. It's free. It's basically an industry trade publication, but I think the people consuming this broadcast are interested in it enough to see what's going on behind the scenes. Talkers.com.
I appreciate you, brother. I really do. I thank you very much. And we'll talk again very, very soon. Michael Harrison from Talkers. So here's the deal. I'll be back again tomorrow night for Wayne Allyn Root. One more day, then he's back in action. I guess he must be out in Vegas. I don't know where he is right now. But the Gateway Pundit, you can watch there. Wayne's Rumble, Wayne's X, Getter, and Root for America. I want to thank the boys from Minnesota. Without them, and you'd get nothing but static. It would be like maybe that. That's all you'd get. And that might be better sometimes than me. But static is slightly, I think if you ranked static, it's like 2 levels on the top 10 above me. Like I'm 7 and static is 5. Anyway. Enjoy the rest of your day / night, wherever you might be listening and watching us. I'll be back tomorrow for Wayne Allyn Root. The show is called The War Zone. See you.